After over 15 years working as a private investigator, I thought I'd seen it all. My transition from the police force to running my own agency allowed me to leverage those hard-earned skills, building a steady business with a good reputation and a comfortable lifestyle. By 40, I was divorced and cautiously dating, having learned the hard way that people can be unpredictable. Jennifer, my ex-wife, was living proof. Our marriage had barely survived the first year, despite our seemingly solid connection. She was attractive, driven, and good at convincing others of whatever she wanted, often me included. We dated for a year before she convinced me to marry her on a spontaneous trip to Boston. I liked her, but I never felt that deep, unshakable love. Maybe I just thought it was time to settle down. In hindsight, I realize now how naive that was. After the wedding, Jennifer moved into my townhouse, a place I was proud of with a pool, sauna, hot tub, and a cozy fireplace. She seemed dazzled by it all, though she was used to much smaller accommodations from her years working as a stylist. Not long after our wedding, I'd helped her realize her dream of owning her own salon, buying her a four-chair setup in a trendy part of town. For a while, I was proud to see her business take off, but I had no idea her vision of success had more layers than I ever realized. One Saturday, Jennifer told me she'd be at the salon all day, busy with appointments. I was working on a case nearby, a pretty routine investigation of a cheating spouse. Since I was in the area, I decided to swing by her salon, planning to slip in quickly to use the restroom before heading out again. When I arrived, the salon was closed with a closed sign hanging on the door. Odd, I thought, but I let myself in, assuming she was running errands. As I moved through the empty salon, I heard noises from her office at the back, noises that unmistakably sounded like more than just work. My heart raced as I crept toward the office, hand instinctively reaching for the pistol I kept holstered, a reflex honed from years in the field. I pushed the door open, and there she was, my wife of less than a year, entangled with another man. Jennifer's gasp as she saw me, her cheeks flushed, her blouse halfway undone, was answer enough. The other man stumbled backward, trying to pull up his pants. Instinct took over. I stepped forward, struck him across the face with my gun, and told him to get out if he valued his life. He bolted out, leaving Jennifer, sobbing and half-dressed, alone in the office. "It's not what it looks like," she managed between panic breaths. "No," I replied coldly. "It's exactly what it looks like." I told her to pack her things and get out of my house within the hour, leaving her keys on the kitchen counter. Without another glance, I walked out, feeling a cold emptiness settle in my chest. That night, I crashed at my friend Kyle's house. Kyle, a lawyer and longtime friend, heard me out as I vented about the betrayal. By the next morning, I had clear instructions for Kyle. I wanted a divorce fast. Fortunately, I had a prenuptial agreement, and she had little legal ground to contest. As for the salon, I let her keep it. That, I was sure, was all she'd wanted from me in the first place. Just a few weeks later, our marriage was dissolved, and Jennifer was officially out of my life. Back to work, I quickly buried myself in a new case, another cheating spouse investigation. One evening, while doing surveillance at a hotel, I met a young woman named Ava, who nervously approached me at the bar. Just as she sat down, the manager accused her of solicitation. Thinking quickly, I said she was with me, rescuing her from an embarrassing situation. In our conversation, she revealed her real name was Grace, and that she was struggling to support her young daughter Emma. She was new to the streets and unsure what to charge. Feeling a strange sympathy for her, I paid her $300 just to come up to my room and talk. Once upstairs, she started to unbutton her blouse, but I stopped her, explaining I only wanted to hear her story. She was relieved and told me about her tough life. Raised in foster care, a single mother struggling to make ends meet. Something in her story struck a chord, and I felt a strong urge to help her. Before she left, I handed her some money, promised to be in touch, and left her some clothes. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake thoughts of Grace and her daughter. I checked in her background, finding every detail she'd shared to be true. After making arrangements, I offered her a job at my agency, starting with basic office work. Though hesitant, she eventually accepted, and soon, my sister Lisa, who worked with me, took Grace under her wing. Before long, Grace's daughter Emma became a regular presence at the office, quickly stealing everyone's heart. In time, Grace and I grew close, and I found myself falling for her. But given how much I'd helped her, I wasn't sure if she felt the same. Then, during a particularly complex case, Grace revealed more about her troubled past with her ex, Matthew, who had assaulted her years before. This led me to confront Matthew, who reluctantly agreed to sign over his parental rights in exchange for us keeping quiet. That evening, Grace was in tears, thanking me for helping protect her daughter's future. Our bond deepened, and not long after, we started dating officially. Within a year, we were married, this time in a small ceremony with only close friends and family. Emma was ecstatic, and life finally felt stable, even joyful. Grace continued working at the agency, proving to be invaluable, particularly with cases involving vulnerable clients. Emma, now thriving, was quickly becoming the light of our lives, and each day brought us closer as a family. Years passed, and life became a steady rhythm of work, family, and occasional escapes from the day-to-day grind. But then, an unusual case came our way. A wealthy client believed his business partner had swindled millions. This case quickly took over our lives, leading us to late nights, digging through complex records and tracking shell companies. Grace's keen eye for detail uncovered clues that even I missed, leading us to expose a web of deceit far bigger than we had expected. The case ended up being a pivotal moment in our agency's success, cementing our reputation and proving just how integral Grace had become. Back at home, life remained full, with Emma blossoming into a bright, ambitious young woman. One evening, Grace and I sat on the porch, her head resting on my shoulder as we watched the stars. She asked if I ever wondered where I'd be if I hadn't met her. I replied that I didn't like to think about it. Life with her and Emma was more than I'd ever dreamed of. Emma eventually joined the agency herself, starting small but quickly proving her skill in investigations. She brought a fresh perspective and, after some initial doubts, embraced the role with confidence. Watching her grow into the field, handling cases independently, was an immense source of pride for both Grace and me. Then, one evening, Emma came to us with surprising news. She'd been offered a position with the FBI. It was a huge opportunity, one she'd dreamed of since her early days studying forensic psychology. Grace and I exchanged a glance, knowing what this would mean for our family business and for us personally. But ultimately, we knew she had to follow her own path, and we gave her our blessing. When Emma left for Quantico, it was a bittersweet moment, but knowing she was pursuing her passion was worth every pang of missing her presence. Meanwhile, Grace and I began to think about our own future. After all the years we'd spent building the agency, we felt it might be time to start letting go, stepping back from the work that had defined so much of our lives together. Yet, life had one more twist for us. A call came one afternoon from an old friend and former colleague, Jack, now retired from the police force. He needed help with a cold case that had come back to haunt him, one involving the death of a powerful local family, the Wilsons, years earlier. It was a case that had almost cost us our lives back then, and now it seemed that some unresolved secrets were surfacing, stirring up fresh dangers. As we worked to unravel the mystery surrounding the Wilsons, threats emerged targeting their surviving daughter, Charlotte. Jack was desperate, and Grace and I couldn't ignore his plea. The investigation led us to uncover a dark network of corruption, one that linked back to high-profile figures who'd been complicit in covering up John Wilson's crimes. Unveiling these truths not only risked our lives, but tested the strength of everything we'd built. Eventually, we released the information to the public. The case exploded in the media, leading to arrests, career-ruining scandals, and a sense of justice finally served. Grace and I emerged from the ordeal shaken but grateful, knowing that we had faced it together, hand in hand, as partners in every sense of the word. In the years that followed, as Emma continued to thrive with the FBI, Grace and I settled into a quieter life. The agency was thriving under new leadership, and we found joy in simple things, like trips to the countryside, slow evenings on the porch, and watching the sun set over the trees. Our journey together had been unexpected, filled with hardships, but every moment had shaped the life we now treasured. And no matter what lay ahead, I knew we would face it together, grateful for each other, our family, and the peace we'd finally earned.